I just speak my peace, keep my peace.
What's good, y'all? Welcome to episode 101 of the Speak My Peace podcast. As always, I'm your gracious host, Greg Lacey. Like we always do about the time, I hope this episode reaches you all in good health, good wealth, and that you're taking care of yourself and your loved ones, as we know how important that is in today's day and age, despite what the government is out here telling y'all with their mixed signals. Last episode was definitely one of my favorites to date. Just because of the overwhelming feedback I got from you all, just allowing me to use my platform to speak about something like that, allowing me to use my platform to free myself for something, allowing me to use my platform for something so personable and sharing a story like that. And to get that over the feedback that I've been getting from you all, whether you relate to it, whether you commend me for sharing it, it's all been great, and it's been coming in abundance. So I thank you all for that. Definitely, probably, if not the best, probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite episode since, I want to say episode 55. Before that episode 55 have been my favorite episode for a while. And it seems like episode 55 is a lot of y'all favorite episodes too. Like when I look back at my stats weekly, in the episodes that people are revisiting, episode 55 like remains at the top of my list. It's always, the latest episode, the episode before that, and then somehow episode 55 is still getting a higher viewership. I don't know why. I mean, I know why. But it's just amazing when you put out something and you garner the attention, you garner the feedback that you feel like it should have. And episode 55 was one of those episodes. Like, I think it was like a free flowing episode. I definitely had like a list and things like that. But I went back and listened to the episode recently myself. And literally like the beginning 30 minutes of the episode was me rambling about something. And then I finally got into the good stuff after that. But when I finally got into the good stuff, like I was on a roll. I had a good little thing going. And so that's why it's one of my favorite episodes, because I was really speaking about some good stuff and it was just flowing. And I love when episodes come together like that and it just flows. But last episode, it was definitely a great experience. Not something I've ever done before on this podcast or even personally. Just allowing me to speak about something so personable to me. I spoke about it being a healing experience, but it was a freeing experience as well. I think that me containing those emotions, me containing those thoughts, me containing that story and how it affected me, it really had a hold on me. And so me not speaking about it, me not really putting it out there, it was weighing me down. And so me speaking about it freely and open as I did in the last episode, it freed a part of me that has been held back for 9+ years. So that was definitely a great freeing experience. I think the greatest part about that is, the younger version of ourselves, we deal with a lot of trauma. Especially us as Black people, we deal with a lot of trauma coming up, whether it's childhood, teenage years, or young adult years. And it's rarely ever properly treated. Sometimes, we ignore it and we push through. Sometimes it's not really processed what we go through. And when it's not processed and it's not treated, it just lives in our mind. And what that experience was for me. It had been living in my mind for nearly a decade. And although I wasn't waking up every morning thinking about it, although I wasn't waking up or going to sleep every night thinking about it, although I wasn't going through my day thinking about it, the fact of the matter was that it was still in my head. And so it was having a toll on my mental space. And I had to get that out of there. And I think when we go through experiences like that, traumatic experiences, and we don't process them or we don't treat them, it has that negative toll on us. And we see it happen time and time again. And so what I had to do, and basically what I did in the episode, is I identified, what the problem was. I recalled, how I was feeling. I recalled, I guess, my mental space going into that. I detailed the experience of the emotions I dealt with going through that experience, and the emotions I dealt with after that experience, and emotions leading up to that experience. I had to accept it as well. I just accepted it as what it was, and accepted that it happened. And those are things that I have been neglecting for nearly a decade. I learned from it, and then I grew. And so those were the important steps in freeing myself, was identifying it, recalling it, experiencing it, accepting it, learning from it, and growing. And if I didn't do those key things, it would have continued to have a negative effect on me. And I just couldn't allow that to be. Like, I'm in a very pivotal. I'm in a very pivotal state in my life right now, to where I'm trying to correct as many things as possible so that I can continue to strive to be the best version of myself possible. And if things are weighing me down, it's kind of hard for me to continue to progress. And so that's just where my life is at right now. It's just progression, and identifying and recalling and going through and just taking the corrective measures to have a more healthy mental state so that I can be the best version of myself. But another important thing about, last episode, it's important for us, especially as Black people, to share things like this, because Black people are not an anomaly. So I don't want to say all Black people don't do it and some Black people don't do it. If you meet one Black person and you meet the next Black person, they're not going to be the same people. Their experiences in life and their interests in things may be the same, but they are not going to be the exact same people. I have sisters, they're twins. They are not the same people. They grew up the same life experiences. Two different people. They have the same interests. They had the same life, but they are not. They are two different characters. Just a personal example. But getting back to what I was saying as I got off topic, Black people are not an anomaly, and so we go through things, and when we don't share them, it kind of hurts us as a whole, because we are not known to be very vulnerable. Well, I'm not going to say not all of us, especially Black men. We are not known to be a vulnerable people. And so when we go through things like the things I detailed in the previous episode, and I don't share things like that, I am preventing my younger siblings, I'm preventing my nieces and nephews, I'm preventing my younger cousins from having that same type of experience, because then we are thought of as less than, because we are making ourselves vulnerable, because we don't want to share these experiences, and we don't want to detail how something has affected us negatively. And this is, again, about the progression. As I better myself, I want to better people behind me as well, because I know what I was lacking as a young child. And so I want to do as much as I can to, as I say, each one teach one. And so I have to teach as best as I can through my experiences. We as Black people, we have experience in this world all across the globe like none other. We're looked at as superhumans, but we're not valued as superhumans. And so I don't need to detail how we are looked at or how we are valued across the entire globe. If you're Black, you should know. Even if you aren't Black, there's so many details in the media, there's so many details in history about the value of Black people from people who are not Black. So I'm not going to go into detail about all of that, but we know how this world treats Black people of all diaspora. But one thing about that is, if we don't treat it, if we don't detail these things, if we don't share our stories, someone else going through that, it may have more severe implications than what you had. So I may have went through that experience, and granted, I made it out better on the other side. Somebody else going through that, they probably won't have the same type of experience. They may decide to take other means that may be more harmful, that may be fatal. And it's unfortunate, but it happens. And so we have to do our best to continue to detail these things, to let our people know that, we're looked at as superhuman, but we're not. No. I don't want to put that out there. We're looked at as superhuman, and we are superhuman, but we also have to take care of ourselves, and it's okay to go through things, and it's okay to go through emotions that make us vulnerable. It's okay to express that we are hurt about something. It's okay to express that, we don't like something, and it's okay to just be open about these things, because the better we detail these experiences, the better it is for the rest of us. Because at the end of the day, don't nobody care about black people. We care about ourselves and we take care of ourselves. And the better we do that, the better we are as a people. We seen examples in media this past week to where, these things played out and they unfortunately had fatal consequences. The two examples I'm speaking about is we seen, I think it was like 2 weeks ago, Regina King's son, Ian Alexander Jr., claimed his life. And then literally a week following him, a former Miss USA, and please forgive me if I pronounce her last name wrong, because y'all know if you're an avid listener of this podcast, I hate mispronouncing people who has passed their last. I hate mispronouncing their names. But we had Ian Alexander Jr. Then a week after him, it was Chelsea Christ, I believe is how you pronounce her last name. She took her life. And these are examples of people who are looked at as superhuman, people who are looked at as, I guess they're looked at as just like people put them on a pedestal because of who they may be related to, what they have done, who they are, what status they have, and different things like that. But in the inside, like they're dealing with internal struggles. Ian Alexander Jr., his one of the most horrifying and the most terrible thing that I saw, just I don't remember how he took his life or how his life was claimed, and I'm not even sure that actually matters. But the fact of the matter is he's not here anymore, and two parents are missing their child, and friends are missing their friend. I don't know if he has siblings or anything, but he's no longer here in the physical realm. But prior to him dying, his last tweets were just about the mental headspace he was in. One of them was about Instagram just not being a kind place, which I agree on. I'm going to expand on that in a later episode. And another one was him referencing his mental state at that moment. He said that, and I'm paraphrasing, but basically he explained that what was going on in his head was similar to a SpongeBob episode. Now, to give you all a backstory about the SpongeBob episode, there's this episode of SpongeBob, which I haven't watched SpongeBob in a very long time, but basically there's an episode of SpongeBob where SpongeBob was going through something, and the show looks inside his brain, and inside his brain there's a bunch of little SpongeBobs basically in an office setting inside his head, and they're just going crazy, running around the office, burning paper. There's a bunch of fires going on within his office. They're shredding things, fighting each other, and it's just pandemonium inside his head. And Ian, before he left, that was his last tweet, that's what was going on inside his head. And this is not uncommon. Like I told you all first episode back that, I started seeing a counselor, and I was diagnosed with anxiety. That's happens in my head oftentimes, whether good or bad. I feel like there's a bunch of just thoughts and ideas and just bouncing off the walls in my head going on, and that's part of my anxiety. That's me questioning everything. That's me worrying about things. That's me just trying to figure out things, and it's a multitude of reasons of why I feel like that. But this happens. It's not uncommon. But I knew to seek help, and I'm not saying that he didn't seek help. I don't know his personal story. I don't know what he was personally going through. But this is common. It's not uncommon. People have anxiety. Maybe not everyone is diagnosed with anxiety. Maybe not everyone even know how to treat it. Maybe not everyone has the means to treat it. But it's common. The other example was Chelsea Christ. And again, please forgive me if I mispronounce her name. But this was a woman who was a former doctor. Not a former doctor, sorry. Well, she had her doctorate, but she was a former lawyer. And then she was also Miss USA, I believe, 2019. I may be getting years wrong, but I believe she was Miss USA 2019. And then at the current moment, she was a show host, I believe, on E. And I could be getting that wrong as well. Please forgive me for not having details for all these things. It probably should be me doing my research before I even start recording. But this woman, she took her life. She jumped from, I believe it was like a 60-story building in New York. And following her death, all you hear about is, she was such a strong person. She was such a beautiful person. She lit up the room. And people were saying the same thing about Ian. But all these positive things in there, and everyone's, consensus remarks was never knew that they were dealing with something. And then her mom came out, and said that, she knew that she was dealing with internal struggles because she detailed to her a couple months prior to her taking her life that she had been diagnosed with, I forget what she was. I think it was high functioning depression. And I could be getting that diagnosis wrong, so I'm not even going to elaborate on it. But I believe it was high functioning depression, to where she was able to carry out her job, her daily duties and things like that, and be in social gatherings and be around people and be very happy and appear very happy. But when she was alone at home, or even probably in those settings as well, she was dealing with things that she just couldn't handle. And again, this is another thing that's common. When we're humans, our bodies are fascinating specimens. I don't think anyone has ever 100% figured out this thing called life. And because of that, it makes this experience so much harder, because we all go through so many things. And because no one is alike, we deal with them differently. Because they affect us differently, and how we approach them and how we recover for them, it is never the same. And so because of that, you have different realities. You have, people who may continue to fight through it and come out better on the other side. And you may have people to feel like, this is it. Like, I can't take this anymore. This is all that I'm doing. And life will be better without me, because me here physically, I'm suffering. And I say all that to say that you never know what someone is going through. Have compassion for them. Like, I'm going through something personally right now, and I'm not going to detail it now. I'm going to save it for a later episode when I get over it. But I'm going through something emotionally right now. And because of that, it's like, life is hard, and I'm not on alert. I'm not on suicide watch or anything like that. I'm going through something. I'm a human. We all go through things. You probably woke up this morning and someone said something to piss you off, and it probably is going to mess up your whole day. That's going through something. You probably went to sleep last night pissed off, and it's probably going to affect the rest of your week. That's going through something. Like, we're humans. We deal with things. We interact with other people. We interact with other people physically. We interact with other people on social media. We interact with other people on telephones, through text messages and voice calling and things like that. And those things affect how we move forward throughout our day, throughout our week, throughout our month. And the only reason why I detail myself and say all that is because if you don't have the proper support, it's going to make those journeys harder. Like, throughout what I'm going through, the funniest thing is, like, aside from, me having therapy and speaking to my therapist, my mom has been like my best friend throughout all this. And it's weird because a lot of y'all don't know me personally, but it's weird for me to say that, because me being younger, I never would have thought that I would be saying something like that. Like, I'm gonna be honest with y'all. If you ask my siblings, probably if you ask some of my cousins too, you probably never think that me and my mom have the relationship that we have. But we have a great relationship. When I was a teenager, when I was younger, it wasn't the greatest. That was partially just from me, not partially. It was largely, in fact, due to me just being immature, and me just being bad. But I'm an adult now, and I appreciate her experience. I appreciate her wisdom, and I appreciate just her compassion for certain things. We still argue and we fight about certain things, but when I need her, she's there. And that's the greatest thing about parents, is that unconditional love that they have for us. Like, me and my mom could be arguing about something today, and tomorrow I can be going through something that's like really weighing on my mind and really affecting me negatively. And if I need to talk to somebody, I know I could pick up that phone and talk to her. Or sometimes, and it happened in the past where I was going through something and I just wasn't talking to nobody and I was just going through it. And she just randomly called me to check up on me. And it was like, that's just like I don't know if it's mother telepathy, woman telepathy, wherever the case it may be. But it was just like, you're right on time. Like, I didn't want to talk to nobody what I'm going through, but now here I am speaking to you about what I'm dealing with. And that's the great thing about mothers. It's probably the great thing about fathers as well. But I'm just speaking from my experience and me dealing with my mother and me going through what I'm going through. That experience and having that person in your corner like that is bar none. And that's not to say that these two examples didn't have that, because it seemed like Ian had a great relationship with his mother, with Regina King. Chelsea, she had a great relationship with her mother. So that's not to say that, their mothers wasn't there and that the reason why I'm here is my mother was here. I'm not saying that at all. So let's not say that or even say that I'm implementing that. But it's just, that's what's pushing me through. People have relationships outside of their parent relationships. They have friendships. They have companionships with partners. People who they may look to help them, get through whatever they need to get through. But I think that's the most important factor. That's the most important factor in all of this, that you either seek help from someone with a professional background or you seek help from someone who you know and love. Because in these dark times, especially now with us being 3 years in the Q word, dealing with the C word, I think that we all are going through something or have gone through something. And so we have to look for those outlets and we have to look for those people to console us. Because again, we're humans. We go through things. There's no one on this earth who just doesn't there's no one on this earth who just doesn't experience anything. And if you say you do, you're a liar. And if you are saying you do and you actually if you're saying you don't and you actually don't, that's amazing. It's not amazing. That's weird. I don't know how you do it, but if the shoe fits, I guess so. But no, we all go through things. And so we have to look for these people who we can console and to confide in, so that we can pour out our heart and pour out our emotions, and detail our experiences. I remember even speaking about, the two examples I was provided for you all. I was speaking with someone, having a conversation with someone, and they were saying that, just going off of all the stories they were reading and talking about how they seem so happy, despite whatever our relationship status is, despite whatever our living situation is, despite whatever our working situation is, we as people are individuals. And so we are alone in this world, regardless. People may be married and may have a family, but there are times in your life to where you are by yourself, whether that's that drive to work, whether that's why you are at work and you just don't relate to anyone in your cubicles or in your workplace, whatever the case may be. Maybe it's when you go to bed. Maybe you and your spouse go to bed at a separate time. Maybe you and your children go to bed at separate times and you're by yourself. No matter what, we are individuals. None of us was born with two souls, or two minds, I should say. And so despite wherever you are in life, you are your own entity. And so we have to remember that people are alone in this world, no matter what it seems like, and they need help. I'm the complete opposite, to where I prefer to be alone. Like, I'm not alone in this world. I have a lot of siblings. I have a lot of family. I have a lot of friends. So if I ever needed to be around a lot of people, I can have that. But I just prefer not to. And that in itself is a sickness. Like, I shouldn't feel that way. I shouldn't be so closed off. I shouldn't, I should lean into that, because that's what a lot of people seek, but I just don't. Like, I prefer to be by myself, and I can't really explain why. I'm figuring it out now, but it happens. But that in itself is a sickness, that I prefer to be alone. So this is not the end of the episode. I just hope that you all, if you're going through something, just seek help. It don't have to be counseling. Confide in a parent, confide in a friend, confide in a lover, confide in a sibling. Just talk to somebody, because that is important, especially in today's day and age. We're dealing with so much in this world, so much evil going on in this world. It's a lot of isolation going on in this world, and a lot of those things could weigh negatively on your mind. Now, before we get out of here, I just got one last thing to say. This is speaking about me having a lot of things going on in my head. And I'm kind of flipping gears, because that's like, I feel like the past 24 minutes of this episode has been very down and melancholic. So let's brightening up the mood before we get out of here with a little joke. Not really a joke, but just give you all something I'm dealing with in my head. So the week this episode releases will be the week of Super Bowl. Now, if you have been an avid listener of this podcast, you know that I don't watch NFL. If you are not an avid listener, give you all the backstory. Back when Colin Kaepernick was a free agent in 2017, I thought he was going to get signed. And so I still supported the NFL through that summer. And then when he never got signed that fall, I stopped supporting the NFL altogether because I realized where the priority lied in the NFL. They would prefer to shut up someone who is speaking out and bringing awareness to injustice and inequality all across the world. They prefer to blackball him and keep him out and remove the platform of their business and rather push whatever agendas they have. So because of that, my integrity just didn't allow me to contribute a single dollar to the NFL from that point beyond. I haven't watched a football game. I haven't turned on the football game because I watched a couple football games just being around family on Thanksgiving and they're still watching football and things like that. But I personally have not watched a football game, have not bought football apparel, have not contributed to NFL's bottom dollar at all that I can think of. And so because of that, I face a dilemma this year with the Super Bowl because I don't watch football. People have been inviting me to Super Bowl parties. The Super Bowl is here in my hometown, and I don't have any inclination that I want to watch it this year because it's in my hometown or people are inviting me to parties and things like that. But the one thing that is really hindering me is the halftime show. I'm a hometown pride to the fullest. Shout out to Compton, shout out to the Hub City. But I support my people. I support all athletes. I support all entertainers. I support all musicians. I support my city as much as I can. And I am in a weird place because two of the halftime show the halftime show performance is headlined by none other than Dr. Dre. But then he also has Kendrick up there with him. And so I want to support my people. And my dilemma is, do I give in this 1 year and not watch the game, but at least watch the halftime show? Or do I wait until it's over and it's on YouTube and watch the halftime show? I think either way, it's attributing to the NFL's bottom dollar. So it's like no way I can get around it. Only reason why I say it's a dilemma, because I'm going to watch it. Like I'm going to want to see it. But I feel like it's worse if I watch it live, because those are the impressions that they're really generating. The impressions that come after the game, yeah, they are good as well. But what really brings in the dollars is the impressions and the viewers that are watching while it's live. So it's like I don't want to contribute to that, but I also don't want to miss out on seeing my hometown heroes perform. Only reason why I don't want to watch it after the fact is because if I watch it after the fact, that means that if I watch it after the fact, that means that I'm going to be seeing it on social media. I may hear people talking about it. I may have my friends texting about it. And so then I'm really going to be inclined to watch it. So I don't know exactly what I'm going to do. I can't wait to detail. I have a couple pre-recorded episodes, so I don't know when the next live episode is going to be. But I can't wait to detail to you all what I decided to do, which I'm leaning towards just not watching the game at all, but having someone text me when the halftime show start and then not watching it anymore. But it's going to be a very weird and interesting year for me, because for the past 5 years, I haven't felt any need or any reason to watch an NFL game or anything related to the NFL. And now this year, it's in my hometown. Two of my hometown heroes are performing. So what do I do? Y'all let me know in the comments what y'all would do if y'all was in my position. But that's the Speak My Peace podcast for this week. Thank you all for tuning in. Before we get out of here, since this episode is going to be released today, since this episode is going to be released a couple of days before Valentine's Day, my what to watch for this week is Love Life Season 2 on Netflix, on HBO. Because this is Black History Month, we are only showcasing Black leaders, Black directors, Black lead actors. And the reason why I say Season 2 specifically, because Season 2 is the season that focuses on a Black lead actor or actor and actress. So my what to watch for this week is Love Life on HBOMax, season 2 specifically. And that's the Speak My Piece podcast for this week. I'm out.